It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Cheryl Watson-Lowry, who has more than 30 years experience as practicing general dentist and owns and operates her own dental practice, Watson and Watson Dental Associates. She is 2019 president of the Chicago Dental Society, a nonprofit organization that represents dentists across the Chicagoland area. Chicago Dental Society also organized the annual Chicago Midwinter Meeting, one of the largest exhibits of dental products and professional dentistry in North America. Dr. Watson-Lowry is also a spokesperson for the American Dental Association and a member of the Illinois State Dental Society. Dr. Watson-Lowry received her bachelor degree from University of Illinois Chicago and her dental degree from University of Illinois College of Dentistry. She lives in Chicago with her husband, Bill Lowry Sr., and their three children, Bill Jr., Evan, and Clarke. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, I asked you to come on the show. You didn't ask me to come on the show. And you've been in the news a lot of times. And most recently, for the action for the dental health bill. And
Yes.
if I know dentists, and that's why, seriously, that is why I've been a due-paying member of the ADA all through dental school. Even when I wanted to fix teeth, preferably toothaches. That's what I love the most. I love when someone comes in just holding their face. But what people, especially if you're listening to the show around the world in Canada and Australia and New Zealand, you can't think of the United States as like a country. I mean, it's 50 states and they all have different laws regarding dentistry to driving to everything. It's not a homogenous country. And you would not believe the behind the scenes battle that the Arizona State Dental Association is doing all day, every day for the last 30 years. People come out with these crazy bills. And that's why I'm a member. It's all politics to me. I mean, you guys put on great annual meetings and all that stuff, but my God, the politics, and not to be offensive, but isn't Chicago like the craziest political state in the nation? I've heard rumors that something like 3 of your last 4 governors went to jail. Is that true?
Let's see. We've had several. We've had
We had
several
several.
go to jail. Yes. And as a matter of fact, my husband just jumped into the political arena as far as running for office. So he won his election. And so now our lives are really, really a lot of fun.
Well, since I've been in Arizona, I think 2 governors have been impeached. It was Meekum and another one. So yeah, politics is crazy. So tell us about the dental health bill.
Well, the Action for Dental Health Bill is something that the American Dental Association has been working on for quite some time. I think approximately 2013. And Robin Kelly, Congresswoman Kelly, introduced the bill, and it went in front of the Energy and Commerce Committee in 2017, and that's when they asked me to come to Congress and testify on behalf of the Action for Dental Health Bill. And so the whole purpose is to try to help patients that are in the underserved community and just in general get better dental health. And a lot of it has to do with prevention. And it's about getting more access to programs and money for different programs so that patients can get better care.
Well, I always tell young grads, they always say to me, they go, I don't know if I should join the ADA because I graduated $400,000 in debt and I just don't have the money. And it's like, dude, it's your insurance policy on your profession.
Exactly.
And do you really think the dental insurance companies want to raise our fees, or do you think they want to lower fees? Do you think Medicare and Medicaid want to give doctors more money or less money? I mean, there's so many people sitting around that table. I mean, obviously, the American people would love their dentistry to be free. Obviously, the dentists want no regulate, so there's a lot of people at this table, and I pay my dues so that people who, I mean, do you like politics? I mean, is it a game to you? I mean, I just like tonight, I'll watch Thursday night football. I want to watch the Chargers and the Chiefs. I would never watch Fox News or CNN. That would give me an ulcer. I only want to watch things that are fun, like sports. I just don't like the politics side.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, politics is fun to me.
Really?
Politics, yes, my husband and I love politics. And before we even got together, my parents were very, very much into politics. My dad actually was a dentist, And he spent a lot of time working with the Chicago Dental Society, the Illinois State Dental Society, going down to our state capital in Springfield, trying to, continue to advocate for patient care and for Medicaid. And he was doing that back in the 70s. And so I guess they say apples don't fall far from the tree. So I love politics, and election night is like Super Bowl Sunday at our house. We just are all into it.
But come on now, would you rather watch the Super Bowl or election night? Be honest. Which one? If you had to pick
Election
between.
night, I'm gonna be honest with
Seriously?
you. Yeah, unless the Bears are playing, I'm gonna watch election night. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah, my husband ran for office, and election night we were watching the polls and trying to see some of our friends were running. My husband was running, and all we wanted to do was be able to switch the channels to see who was up and who was down, and all those things, because politics is a lot of what Americans deal with every day. And if we don't deal with the politics of the issues, then we can't get anything done. I mean, for example, you said you pay your dues so that the American Dental Association and your dental society can do what they do. And that's exactly what's needed. We need to have young people join because they want to focus on making money, but it is their insurance policy. The ADA is on Capitol Hill advocating constantly for things that you wouldn't even think of, like fluoridation. You just think that's a gimme. There are states that have, different organizations that have been trying to get rid of fluoridation over the last few years, just nonstop. I can't even tell you how many states and how many different municipalities have thought that, a great way to save money is to stop fluoridating the public water. And they don't really understand that if they stop fluoridating the water, the amount of decay, and especially in the underserved community, will just rise dramatically, over the years. It's bad enough that most people drink bottled water, but people in the underserved community probably drink more tap water. And so that remains an important issue. So things like that, the ADA is going to bat in local municipalities. The ADA provides information and finds dentists in the area to go and speak in front of the state legislature, in front of the city council, and those types of things on a day-to-day basis, so that the average member of the ADA and the local dental society can go to work, make their money, and not have to worry about situations like that. Not to mention constantly fighting things like denturists that are trying to a lab that would love to be able to move next door to you and provide and just do dentures for patients without having the doctor involved. So there's just a lot of different situations that the average member doesn't even realize that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and it's all politics.
And the tough thing is, I mean, good people just disagree. Like, for instance, me, I would buy a car to a denturist who sat up next to me and took all my denture patients. I would absolutely buy him the car of his dream. I mean, I would love to say, go next door. But then the other dentist would see. So since you mentioned denturists, you're the one who walked in the controversial water right now on Dental Town. My gosh, dental therapists. I mean, it just makes dentists go insane and crazy.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on dental therapists?
Well, the situation with dental therapists is what the ADA has found is that where they do have the dental therapist, it doesn't really take care of the problem. They brought it about because they said that dentistry is expensive. Dentistry is not being provided in some of the communities, in the rural communities and things like that. But what they found is that a lot of these DHATs they get out of school and they go into the more urban areas. They're working in the big cities, the same place that the dentists are working. Another piece that they found is that they still have to purchase the same equipment that we would have to purchase. So their costs are not any lower. So it's not really saving patients any money. So it's not an answer to the situation, to the problem that exists.
Well, the Phoenix, Arizona has two dental schools. One's in Mesa, Arizona, and one's in Glendale. And the founding dean of the A.T. Still University was Jack Dillenberg.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one who, when he started that dental school, Nobody agreed with what he was saying, and it turned out 10 years later he was right. And I think that the problem with the rural dentistry, this is my opinion, and it comes from Jack Gellenberg, is that if you fill up the classes filled with kids
Mm-hmm.
from downtown Phoenix, well, they're not going to go practice in Eloy.
Exactly.
And his argument was with the Indian reservations. The Indian reservation kids, for some reason or another, didn't make the cut to get into dental school.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack said, my gosh, any kid that applies to dental school, his dental school from any of the Indian reservations, he was going to accept. Well, when they graduated, do you think they wanted to practice in downtown Scottsdale, or did they want to go back to the Navajo Indian reservation where their mom and dad lives? And the other day, I was talking to a dentist friend of mine up north in a small town, and the guy there works at the mine. I said, so how's business at the mine? You know, like, what are your problems? You know what he said? He said the biggest constraint at his mine was they couldn't get mechanical engineers because ASU accepts only the people to their mechanical engineering program who have 4.0s in math and calculus, and then nobody wants to go live in Kingman, Arizona. But when the kids from high school in Kingman, Arizona apply to mechanical engineering, maybe they got a 3.2 and they need a 3.4, whatever. And he was telling me he wished that the deans would first assess the needs of the rural community. And if you, and like for instance, I'll tell you a story that I'll never forget. So this dentist, I'm from Kansas. He's from a small town, Kansas. And he said the biggest city, Wichita, was 2 hours away, and he couldn't get any hygienists drive 2 hours away, and there are no hygienists, town of 5,000. So I said, well, here's what you do. Go to your local high school, put an essay contest, why you want to be a hygienist, and then that winter you pay the scholarship, send her to hygiene school in Wichita, and then she'll come back and live in your town for 30 years. So he said, man, that's a great idea. So he did it. And then he called me back. He says, 2 girls applied, and he wanted me to read the letters because he couldn't decide which one to win. I said, dude, send them both. You're in a town. It was like 3,000 or 4,000. So he did. He tells them they both won, and he was going to pay for them to go to hygiene school. So then guess what happened?
What's that?
Their grades weren't good enough, and they didn't get accepted.
Oh, that's horrible. And that's exactly right. You're exactly right. In the state of Illinois, we have a dental school that's downstate because that's a more rural area. And so they, tend to accept more students from downstate. And those are the students that stay down there and practice there. So you're absolutely right. I think that that's something that needs to be evaluated. There's a dental school here in Illinois that is more private, and they accept a lot of students from outside of Illinois, and most of those students go other places and they don't stay in Illinois. So I think you're absolutely right about that. I think that the dental school in that area, they need to assess the need and see who's available, what's available. And then if the grades are not maybe where they need to be, then put a program in place so that those students can come up to where they need to be. So they will go back to those areas and service those urban or rural areas that are in need of having dental services.
Well, the only kid who's going to set up a dental office on the Navajo Indian Reservation is going to be someone born there. And the same goes with Parsons, Kansas, and Kingman, Arizona, and these places. I mean, you have to be born into Kingman, Arizona to love it. Nobody could just drive across and say, "Oh my God, this is paradise." You have to be born there, and that's all you know. So yeah, but the problem with the deans. And look in California. California is the worst state at it. They have 6 dental schools. You Google any one of those dental schools, and the first thing they show you is the entrance level GPA of their freshman class and what they did on the DAT. So they're all bragging about who accepted the smartest people. And you know what? The citizens of Bakersfield don't care if you had a 3.7 or a 3.4. They want to know why all the dentists want to go to San Fran and no one wants to go to Bakersfield.
Exactly.
And if they would, and they should have filled up their classes with kids from Bakersfield. I mean, Johnny Carson called Bakersfield the armpit of California. So if you fill up your classes with kids from LA and San Diego and San Fran, they're not going to go to Bakersfield. So that's a deal. Dental therapy, that's real big controversy. What are denturists? You mentioned that, dental therapy. The water fluoridation deal, this is what another reason I don't like politics. So Arizona Dental Association I graduated in 87. And in 89, they gave me the Arizona Award because I put this organization together. We met every Friday for 2 years, and we got Phoenix to fluoridate its water. It was unfluoridated when I got here, and it was very demoralizing for me because
Wow.
I couldn't see myself drilling and filling and billing Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 for 40 years when there's not even fluoride in the water. I just thought it was insane. So I decided I was going to do that, and I met with all the 8 city councilmen and the mayor several times. Politics is slow moving. It took them 2 years to do something that I thought they could have done on a Friday afternoon. But what I didn't understand is like these millennials, they don't even know what rickets is because it was eliminated by vitamin D in milk, but that was a national deal. Iodized salt. There's not a millennial in America that's ever seen a patient with goiter. Cholera is still the #1 killer in the world today, and it doesn't exist in America. It has chlorine in the water. I just still never, riboflavin in bread. I just never figured out why all the other laws that really fell into place under Harry S. Truman were all
Hmm.
federal laws.
Right.
Like Chicago couldn't decide they're not going to iodize their salt. But then when
Exactly.
it came to water fluoridation, they said, "Oh, we got an idea. Since there's 19,000 towns in America, let's let each one of them decide."
Yeah.
Why doesn't someone decide? I mean, we have 4 dentists in the US Congress.
Now we
Why
do.
don't
I think they're five now.
really 5?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that that's going to make a big difference. I think we're going to see some nice little changes coming about because of that. And again, like you said, politics. We have to be out there. And when you're a member of the American Dental Association and you make donations to our dental pack, that money, the Congress people see that, and they see that how much money the pack has, and then that gives you access to those people because they need donations. My husband having just run for office, I can see more why they need those donations because you need to be able to get your message out. So when you're running a campaign, you have to get your message out. So people that are making donations to your campaign now have access to you. Now you choose whether you listen to them or not. But what the ADA does is we build relationships. So in the spring every year, we go to Capitol Hill. When I say we, these are just average members. So if you want to come and you have a relationship with a congressperson, then you just let the ADA know, look, so and so congressperson, man, woman, is my friend. We went to high school together. I know that person. I go to their fundraisers, what have you. Let them know, so that you may be one of the people that go to Capitol Hill, and then you go and you talk to your friend about the dental issues. And they're they listen. They'll stop. They'll take time. They'll listen to you. If it's not them, if they're, in Congress, if they're busy at that time, then they'll have one of their chief of staff or their person that's in charge of health or that type of thing. They'll meet with you and they'll discuss the dental issues. So that's a really fun and exciting thing that a lot of people do. You sound like you would be great at that, Howard. You should join us in the spring and go to Capitol Hill and go talk to people. I even took
I
my kids a couple times. I took my kids with me. So by the time I'd gotten to the second office or so, they were the ones that they were able to advocate, and they knew all the information, and they were able to talk to the senators and the state reps, and I mean the Congress people, and talk to them about the dental issues and explain to them what was important. So the ADA gives you the talking points. They help you to make your point to the Congress people and tell you how to do it, how to follow up. They give you all the tools that you need. So if there are any listeners out there that have good relationships with their Congress people, then let the ADA know.
I do love lecturing in Washington D.C., and I always took my 4 boys with me so many times because I mean, my God, you could spend it. I mean, they all the museums, and what are those 7 museums? The 7 natural,
The
the
Smithsonian,
Smithsonian. I mean,
right?
they have space, they have dinosaurs, I mean, the monuments, the history. I mean, I love that city.
It's a
Um,
wonderful town. It really is.
but it reminds me of Chicago because I do think Chicago is one of the signature greatest towns in America. But my gosh, why does the Chicago Midwinter have it in February? You want to go to Chicago in April or May or September or in October, November, and they have it in February. It's like, are you guys so used to the frozen snow
Well,
that you don't
no.
realize that people from Arizona come up there and say, "Are you kidding me?" I
Well,
mean, I mean, for me, I have to wear a jacket if it gets below 70.
Well, I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because what we found is that when it's beautiful outside, people want to be outside by the lake. They want to be downtown. They want to be enjoying all the wonderful things that Chicago has to offer. So in February, they'll be inside at the Midwinter Meeting, and they can go on the convention floor, and they can go to our continuing education courses, and they can go to all of our extra activities. Everything is enclosed. You go straight from your hotel, you take a shuttle bus, it takes you straight to the convention center, and then you can just do everything that you need to do there until you leave, and you take your shuttle bus back to the hotel, and then you go visit one of the amazing restaurants that we have here in Chicago. I mean, we've got thousands upon thousands of restaurants here that are fabulous. So it's everything is pretty much self-contained. We have it down to a science. This will be 154th year coming up, and this
Holy
year,
moly.
yeah. So and this year my theme is a
Wow.
midwinter Mardi Gras. So we're gonna have a great time in Chicago. We've got Jay Leno coming, and we've got a Prince a band that's going to be at the Park West, and we have so many exciting things that are going to be there this year. But what we found is that, and a lot of the exhibitors have told me as I've gone to other meetings, they said Chicago is the best meeting. And one reason is because people actually come on the convention floor, they learn new things on the floor. And, you know, if it's 40 degrees outside, they're going to be inside, you know,
And
not
that was the
outside.
complaint. That was the complaint of the ADA meeting in Maui, that
Right.
all the dentists were on the beach.
Exactly. Exactly. Everybody
Yeah.
was on the beach. They were by the pool. They were downtown. They were every place. But there was the National Dental Association had their meeting in Chicago a few years back in the summertime, and nobody was, you know, in the classes and in the convention hall. Everybody was outside enjoying beautiful Michigan Avenue and the lakefront. So,
And
you
and you
know,
got to listen to your customers, because when I started my podcast on YouTube, and everybody told me, they said, "Dude, you have a face for iTunes." So we made an audio only, so they wouldn't get sick watching me on YouTube. Hey, I want to ask you two more controversial things. Another thing that dentists, I don't know all the details of their dental insurance complaints, but they basically say all the dental insurance companies can all look at their fees and compare. But if
right.
all the dentists got together and we all started looking at our fees, we'd all go to jail. And
Exactly.
they say, and that's a big complaint with them. What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I agree with them. And the American Dental Association has been fighting that for years. We've gone to Capitol Hill to try to get the McCarran-Ferguson Act passed, because apparently only baseball insurance companies can collude. We can't collude. We can't talk about our fees and our prices and discuss those things. So we have been going to Congress constantly every year with the McCarran-Ferguson Act to try to get that overturned. We actually had some headway. We changed it up a little bit, and we had some headway during the last session. So we're constantly hammering away at that. And you know, you can go on the ADA website and look at that. But it's not something that the ADA has taken lightly. It's something that they are constantly working to get overturned.
I want to tell you a story, and it's so old. I don't know. I want to make sure I get it right. But Gordon Christian, Gordon,
Yes.
and Gordon Christensen and me. It was This was like 20 years ago. He was the old guy then, and me and Richard Maddow. Richard Maddow had a newsletter called the Maddow Report.
Oh, those are my buddies.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I had one called the Farran Report, that when we added when the internet came out, we called it Dental Town, because the Farran Report is me writing a letter to you. But with the
Uh-huh.
internet, we're all talking together. So I got rid of Farran and just made Dental Town. But we had three complaints, and we decided that we were going to go down and meet with the ADA. And
Uh-huh.
so Gordon arranged it. We all flew down there, and I want to tell you, young kids, they let us rant for 2 hours.
Hmm.
Then we all went home. The three issues that we complained at, they worked on everyone and they solved everyone back in the day. And
Hmm.
you don't get that stuff overnight. Some of the things took 2 years, some took 3 years, some took 5 years. But what I can't stand about the guys that don't pay dues is they always complain They always find a reason why they don't want to pay their dues. Dude, look at your own parents. Are you telling me you can't find one thing wrong with your mom and dad? I mean, when I listen to my five sisters and my brother bitching about mom and dad, I say, you're alive, right? You didn't die, right? We're all
Right.
here. Nobody's perfect. Your parents aren't perfect. Your church isn't perfect. The ADA isn't perfect. And what I want to tell them about their dues, whatever that dues are, think of how much the dues would be if all those dentists who volunteered billed an hourly fee. I mean, what percent of the time are you not getting paid when you're at the Chicago Dental Society and the American Dental Society? Our dues would be $5,000 if we had to pay all those dentists $100 an hour like a lawyer to go work. They're all volunteers. So when you say you don't like the ADA, dude, those are guys that at the end of the day, instead of going home tonight and watching the Kansas City Chiefs annihilate the Chargers, they're driving down to some dental meeting, arguing with periodontists and oral surgeons and orthodontists till late at night while you're
Hmm.
sitting there drinking a cold one watching the Chiefs. Did I tell you they're going to annihilate the Chargers?
Yes, you did tell me
I went
that.
to the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and that was, my gosh, that's the greatest. Growing up in
Yeah.
Kansas, that's got to be the greatest team.
Well, I
But
love football, but it's the Bears.
it's the Bears, the
It's the
Bears.
Bears. It's
Yeah,
the
and your
Bears.
man just had another heart attack, Ditka.
I know, I
My
know. That's my
gosh.
guy. I,
He
I love Dick.
that
Yeah.
and I remember when he had his heart attack when he was the coach. He only missed 11 days work and he was back. And his
No.
doctors were having a nightmare saying, "No, dude, you need to stay home for 6 weeks." And he said
Well, if he
11
stayed
days.
home, that would have killed him. But a lot of you're exactly right. The dentists with the ADA are volunteers, and one thing, if people have concerns and complaints, just like you did, join, come, see what happens. Have your voice heard. Become a delegate to the ADA. Figure out how every state is different and how they determine and vote. But come on out, come to the ADA and come to the House of Delegates and watch and see what happens and see what things that we're trying to do. So I think that those are all things there. The ADA has started having a new dentist on every single committee. So the new dentists can get involved, their voices can be heard. Call the ADA, get online and see all the different programs. I think a lot of dentists that have been members of the ADA have not even looked on the ADA website to actually see what their opportunities are. They have a program that you can save money on appliances. My husband and I just went and saved $1,400 on a new refrigerator through the ADA website. So there are just a number of different programs to help young dentists and seasoned dentists save money in their practices, save money at home, think the programs on how to do their businesses better. But they should come to the meetings. It's like coming to the Midwinter Meeting. You get to talk to other people. Part of my theme is camaraderie. When you're talking to other colleagues, you learn new things from your colleagues every day. Every time I go to a dental meeting and talk to my friends, I learn about new products that they've used and can try them out, new equipment, new supplies. We talk about staffing issues. So those are things you can talk to other people about when you're at other meetings. But there's so many opportunities in the ADA to make a difference, and so people just need to take a look at it and get involved. And just like you said, it's politics is everything. Just imagine if every dentist was part of the ADA. Um, the we already have a huge voice. So we already have our membership. If you compare that to the American Dental Association, I think the American Medical Association, they have like about 20-30% membership. But the American Dental Association has almost 70% membership. So when we go to Capitol Hill and we tell them that we have about 70% of the dentists practicing as members, that holds a lot of weight. So they listen to us a little bit more. But imagine if everybody joined and everybody donated to the PAC. We would be able to pass our bills probably a lot faster. We'd have hold even more weight. But it's important to join just for a myriad of reasons. And they should go to the website, see what's out there, come to some meetings, talk to some members, and see what's out there so that they can make a difference.
You know, um, it's so funny. So many times, especially with my four boys, they'll have their friends over and they'll get in this big old discussion about everything that's wrong with the United States and the government and this and that. And I always say, okay, well, there's 220 countries. Where do you want to move to?
Right.
I mean, where you want to go? I mean, I've lectured in 50 of the countries, and with I want to get back on the airplane every single time and come back. I want to switch gears completely and ask you a mom question. I don't feel like being a man, I can answer this question, but the discussion comes up a lot, and it's a very troubling one. Um, Women graduates, which when I was in school, the senior class had like one girl,
Hmm.
our class had like 10, and now it's half the class. And a lot
Exactly.
of but the reality is this. The reality is they come out of school and part of them wants to be a mom, and you had three kids,
Uh-huh.
and then part of them wants to be a dentist. And the question is succinctly this: if I really want to be a good mom, should I go become an associate, whether it be private or in a DSO, so I can leave at 5 o'clock and not worry and focus on my kids and go to all their games and plays and all that stuff? And then other women that have said, no, 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 you'd rather want to own your own place. Because then if you decide tomorrow you want to cancel all your patients and go to, whatever. So if mom was your top priority, and raising your three kids was, I mean, if being a mom to your three kids was your number one priority and being a dentist number two, would you recommend being an employee as an associate or owning your own show?
Well, that's a very good question. I think it's an individual situation. For me, my dad was a dentist, and one of the main reasons I became a dentist instead of going to medical school was because I wanted to be able to own my own practice. I wanted to be able to make my, be able to change my schedule. I was, and be able to go on vacation when I wanted to. And my dad was able to take us on vacation and take us places. My aunt, who was a pediatrician, she couldn't do those things. So I think it's an individual decision, but owning my own practice, I can make those decisions. I can, and that's one way I can be very involved in organized dentistry. I can say, okay, don't schedule patients on this day and this day because I'm going to this dental meeting, and it works out well for me. My kids came to the practice. They work in the practice sometimes, and so it's given me the opportunity to be able to do a lot of things that I wanted to do. Whereas if you're an associate, then you usually can't make your own schedule up. So I don't know. I think that, and this is my opinion, as far as a lot of the women that are going into practice, it may be a situation that we see in the future where a group of women go in together, and then that way they can help support each other, and they can take off when they need to take off, and the other moms take over and run the practice, and that kind of thing. Kind of a shared situation might be something that we see in the future.
My dad always told me, he said, don't listen to people's words, always look at their actions. He
Hmm.
goes, they'll always talk blue and then they'll go do red,
Hmm.
so listen. And I look at the DSO as that situation. I mean, when dentists go to sell their practice, they love the DSOs, and the DSOs swoop down and cut them a check for $1 million. When they come out of dental school, all my homies, no one wants to hire a kid straight out of school. I mean, hell, it takes them an hour and a half to do an MOD filling. They all want you to get 3 or 4 years experience. And back when you and I got out of school, about the only place I would offer that was the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. So the DSOs, they hire all the young kids out of school who need a job, and they employ them for years so they get their feet up. They add liquidity to the seller's market by snatching up practices, but then they just sit around and hate them all day long. I mean, they just
Right.
can't stand them. I mean, I remember when the ADA one time had in the ADA news, they just covered a story on Aspen. I mean, after all, Aspen is a huge DSO that employs probably 1,000 dentists and all this good stuff. And all these people are upset that the ADA News even mentioned Aspen Dental. It's like, what do you live in a bubble, dude? I mean, what is wrong with you? So what is your thoughts about DSO? And the other thing I don't think is fair about the DSO is a DSO lives under a magnifying glass. But
Hmm.
like, I mean, if they had a problem with their sterilizing or their autoclave or their infect anything, it'd be on the front page of the New York Times.
Hmm.
But that stuff's going on in dental offices all day long. I mean, dentists are always getting arrested and DUIs and all that. But if a big DSO just barely does anything, it's like front page. So my question succinctly is, DSOs, good thing, bad thing? Do you think they'll get bigger? How big? What are your thoughts on DSOs?
Well, I can't speak for the ADA on this or the Chicago Dental Society, but I believe they have a place. Just like you said, the young dentists coming out, it gives them their experience, and then that way, once they've kind of had a taste of that, they can make some decisions about what they want to do with the rest of their practice lifetime, whether they want to, continue in that type of model, whether they want to go into a large group practice, a small group practice, whether they want to teach. So it kind of gives them a little taste of I think what the future may hold for them, and see what they might like to do and give them opportunity. And that's one of the things too with organized dentistry. Speaking of which, you're talking about being able to have those opportunities to be able to practice the way that you want. If you look at, for example, the medical profession now, this you can hardly find a medical office that is a standalone medical office where there's one practitioner and they own their own practice. So that's one of the things that ADA has been able to do, is allow dentists the opportunity to be able to choose what they want to do and how they want to practice. Pharmacists, the same thing. When I grew up, there was a single owned pharmacy about every couple miles, and now there are virtually no individual pharmacy practices. They're all inside of a large chain. So that's one of the things that the ADA is been working on and focusing on, allowing the dentists to be able to practice how they want, whether it's with a DSO, whether it's a private practice, group practice, however they want to practice. So as far as what the future holds, they probably will continue on as long as they are making money. They'll continue on doing that. If all the dentists decide they're just not going to do that, or if groups of dentists get together and start their own groups, things may change. The young dentists coming out, maybe they'll start their own types of practices. So those are things we'll have to see in the future. We'll just sit back and wait and see.
Um, I imagine it would be very different being a member of the Chicago Dental Association in the same city as the American Dental Association on 211. Now, are those societies close and network? For instance, I'll give you why I'm asking. Like Arizona has two dental schools, and one's on the east side of town in Mesa, AT Still, and the other one's on the west side, Midwestern. And my God, there's almost no interaction between them. It's like they're two different universes, and I'm always amazed. I mean, there's dental students and faculty who don't even know the name of the dean at the other one. I'm like, dude, you can get in your car and drive across town. I mean, so is it that way with the ADA and the Chicago Dental Society? Is it like two separate universes, or is it interact a lot?
Well, the Chicago Dental Society is the largest component of the American Dental Association. And we do have a working relationship. We usually meet about once a year, the officers, and we go over different scenarios, and we talk about different things. So we do have conversations about what's going on in the dental world. And we do kind of interact in little different spheres. The ADA is national. So they deal with more national issues, advocating on a national level for patient care and helping people, or dentists and patients across the nation. Whereas the Chicago Dental Society, our members are more local. We're Lake Cook and DuPage counties. And so we deal with the issues with the dentists in our area. We focus our dental meeting. It's not just focused in that area. We have attendees that come from around the world too, and all over the United States. But our focus is putting together our midwinter meeting, and the ADA's focus is more advocacy and national issues for dentists and for patients. So we collaborate on some issues. We've had situations where the city council has had issues that have to do with dentistry. So the ADA will contact one of the Chicago area dentists and help us navigate that, or somebody from the ADA may run over there and take care of whatever's going on at the city council level or the Cook County issues. So we go hand in hand on some things, but I'd say Chicago Dental Society is like, flying at 5,000 feet. We're dealing with our component, our midwinter meeting, and that's our main focus. Whereas the ADA is more advocacy for patient care and for the dentists across the country.
So the Chicago is the largest component of the American Dental Association?
Yes, it is.
Wow. And how many members is that? Do you know the numbers or?
We have close to 7,000 members and associate members.
Wow, that is
Yes,
amazing.
well over 6,000, yeah.
And you're, are you worried about bringing Jay Leno in after Kevin Hart had to resign from the, what is it, the Oscars deal? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I think they pulled up a joke he said like in 2012. Are you worried that they're gonna find something Jay Leno tweeted out an hour before the show, and you
No, I
guys are
don't
gonna have
think
to
so.
send him home packing?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Jay Leno's pretty safe. I think he's pretty family oriented, and I think, in the Chicago Dental Society, we like to have family oriented programs. So, we're putting on things that the whole family can come to. My whole family's coming, and they have been coming, going to the Midwinter Meeting for their whole lives, as I did. My dad used to take me when I was in a stroller still. So, it's a very family oriented meeting, and I'm sure Jay Leno's going to do great.
Yeah, it's he is a funny guy. So you've been giving me so much of your time. I feel rude taking so much time, but I want to switch one more gear to the young graduates because I know if they're watching this on YouTube, they're not going to believe that we both graduated from dental school in 1987 because you look like you could be my daughter. So you must have
Well,
you must
thank
have
you.
took better vitamins than me, or maybe you used a different facial moisturizer or something. But they're always looking at guys like us from 1987 and saying, you don't understand. You guys graduated. You hardly had any student loans. Now, 30 years later, I mean, I graduated 31 years. We both did
Yeah,
31 years ago. And
yeah,
they're saying, you don't understand. It's a whole different world. We're coming out of school, $400,000 in student loans. And a lot of them are very stressed. And a lot of them are saying, I got a job working in Aspen or Heartland, and I'm making 150,000 a year. But by the time I pay taxes and my student loans, I'm living with my mom.
right.
So what would you tell a recent grad who's listening to you saying, yeah, well, when your dad was a dentist, that was the golden years. And when you got out, that was still the golden years. And now it's the student loan debt crisis. I mean, even the country is saying, what is there, $1.5 trillion of student loans? And it's affecting the housing market because people can't even qualify for a house because they got student loans. What would you tell a young graduate who's saying maybe becoming a dentist and graduating $400,000, maybe that was a bad idea? What would you tell her if she was thinking that? Listen to this on the way to work.
Well, I think that you go into dentistry because you want to help patients, and I think it's a little different than in some other professions. I think you have to really love what you do, and in the earlier times, whether it's even in the golden years, sometimes you come out of school, you have to build up that speed, you have to do all those things. So, it's going to take some time to do that. And then, but I think that you're doing it because you love it and because you love working with patients. And I don't think that I know you have to pay your, bills and do all those things, but I think dentistry is a little different. I think, you really go into that for the love of taking care of patients. And, I know that there are issues out now. I know the ADA has programs to help students refinance their loans. So that's another reason to join and become a member. But those are things that the ADA is working on. And that's another situation where the young dentists should get involved and let us know how they feel about things, and so that we can, help them with those issues and talk to them about it and try to figure things out. I think it's a big issue, and it's something that we're working on at the ADA. And but having young dentists come out and discuss with us and tell us different ideas and things like that, that's what we want to hear. That's what we want them to do. And so we can help find a solution to those things, because the debt for education is huge just in general. Kids going to all kinds of different schools. I'm hearing all these different numbers coming from the law students, and we have a son in law school now. I mean, it's huge all over. So I just want the young students coming out of school to stick with it, and then come on to the ADA and let us know what they think. Let us come with some ideas, and we can all work it out together and help them out.
So your oldest son's in law school right now?
Yes, he is. He's following his dad.
Oh my gosh, how come he's following dad and not mom? Do you feel like you lost in that battle of influence?
Yeah, I don't have any kids going to dental school. Our oldest, I don't know, he came out looking like his dad. He does everything like his dad. So, I think, and he said he wasn't good in biology. So that's why he said after he applied to law school, he said, I wanted to go to medical school or something, Mom, but I just wasn't that good in biology. And I'm like, I wish you told me sooner. I would have tried to do something to help you more. But yeah, it would be nice to have a kid that would follow me. But I want them to follow their passion, because, like I said, dentistry is something that you do because you love it, and I love practicing dentistry.
I always told my four boys, because I would take them to every time I lectured or conventions, I'd always take them, make a family fun deal out of it. And people would always go to my kids and they'd stress them out and say, well, are you going to be a dentist like your dad? And I always coach my boys how to answer that, because my dad had Sonic drive-in franchises in Wichita. And his whole dream was that I'd be a franchisee like him. And all of his friends who had multiple Sonics, their kids were all dentists. When I told my dad I wanted to be a dentist, he's like, my God, after 4 years undergrad, 4 years dental school, you could have 3 Sonics and you'd be a millionaire before you graduated. And I'm like, I know, but when I go to work with my dad, I make hamburgers and onion rings. And when I go to work with my next door neighbor, Kenny Anderson, the dentist, he's taking x-rays through teeth and doing root canals. And Kenny's still practicing. He just celebrated his 50 years in Wichita, Kansas. And I just told my dad, I said, Dad, I don't care about the money. I don't want to make onion rings and tater tots my whole life. Right. I want to. And for me, I remember the first time Kenny took an x-ray and he showed him the deal. And I looked at it, I said, so that x-ray, it looks through the tooth. I mean, I just thought everything Kenny was doing. Kenny was my idol as far as profession, and my dad was the love of my life. So I told my dad, I always told my 4 boys, I said, I didn't have you. I mean, it's not like I'm a dairy farmer and I needed 4 kids to milk the cows every morning and every night. I had you for you. I didn't have you for me. And I let my dad down. So let me down. I mean, I don't care what you are. I just want you to be happy and healthy.
Did any of them go to dental school?
No, Zach, my oldest one, his number one hobby was rock climbing. And then he found out that you can't get any welders to climb those cell phone towers and weld new Verizon boxes on the top. And one day he just climbed the cell phone tower illegally himself. And then he found out that they pay you $1,500 a day to do that. So he went and learned how to weld, and they pay him $1,500 a day. And he says every time they find a welder, because a fireman can't get you at 1,000 feet up in the air. I mean, they can only go 30, 40 feet. And after 30 feet, 99% of all the welders crawl back down and say, you can take this job. And Eric, he always sends me illegal pictures of him hanging upside down, taking a selfie. His truck looks like it's a Hot Wheels car at the bottom of something. And I'm like, get down, don't do that. Quit sending me these selfies. But so he does that. The other 3 all worked with me. They all worked a year or 2. One worked at Dental Town for a couple of years selling ads in the magazine. One did my podcast. He got this whole podcast going. And after college, he moved home with me. He did the first 1,000 shows. And then he completely let me down. He met this beautiful woman and ran off with her. Can you believe
that sounds fabulous.
Can you believe he left me for a young, beautiful woman? And then my youngest one is my assistant 2 years. But yeah, they all have different interests. In fact, my youngest one.
Young people have their own ideas. Yeah. You got to
And
let them do what they want to do.
And I couldn't even, I spent 10 years of my life in a Sonic drive-in, and the only fun thing about it is I got to be with my dad. But man, if you really want to cook cheeseburgers and onion rings and tater tots till you're 65, you're not me. I mean, I still think if you told me, Do you want to play 18 holes of golf on Pebble Beach or Maui, or
Uh-huh.
go pull 4 of the most brutally infected, impacted wisdom teeth? I'll take the wisdom. In fact, my staff, one of the biggest things they get mad at me about is if someone fails the FA and it's on a bunch of fillings, whatever, then they fill the financial arrangement or whatever. But when they fail the financial arrangement on wisdom teeth, I say, screw it, I'm doing it for free. And they're like, no, 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 because I pull them for free, and I
Right.
do.
But
I've
you do it
never,
because you love it. You love it,
yeah.
and that's what dentistry is about. I mean, when I worked with my dad for years and never really saw. I love science, and then when I actually watched everything he did, and then I mean, you're doing everything with your hands. You're creating things, and it's like everything you do, you're creating a piece of art. And so I love working with my hands and talking to the patients and our patients are like our family. Some of them have been patients since my dad was in dental school. But you have to really, you have to love that part of it and enjoy that, enjoy your patients, and you're creating something new every day. And patients, it changes people's lives when you can, change their smile and help them feel good about themselves, and those things make your day.
They do. I love dentistry. I love you for all that you've done for dentistry, all your volunteer hours. I mean, you're second generation, always trying to make dentistry better. There's, if you Google her name, you can find the hearings, all this thing like that. That's really amazing that you do that. So I just want to thank you for all that you've done for dentistry.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on my show and talk to my homies. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And good luck for all your next Chicago. When's your next Chicago Midwinter? When is it?
It's
February?
February 21st through 23rd at McCormick Place. So make sure everybody signs up, because I want our meeting to be the biggest and the best ever for 2019.
And
So we're going to,
You know why it's on the 21st to the 23rd? Because the
why?
meteorologist said that's what the temperature would be. It would be between
It's going to
21
be,
and 20.
no, it's going to be 40 degrees and
Is it
sunny.
really?
It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be
Mm.
absolutely beautiful. But we don't want it too warm, because then everybody wants to be outside. So we want them in the convention center. We want them to register. They'll get discounts on the convention floor. They'll learn new things. They can take hands-on courses. That's the other thing. These young people need to come out and take some of these hands-on courses and learn all these exciting things at the Midwinter Meeting.
Well, that's an excellent point, because to get your FAGD, which I got, you had to have 500 hours, but they could just be all lecture. But
Right.
when you got your MAGD, it was 600 hours, but a third of it had to be hands-on participation classes. And I want to thank you so much for that, because I had to go to Chicago Midwinter Meeting because so many participation classes you can only fill there. And I got to tell you my funny Chicago Midwinter story. It was a hands-on removable partial denture deal. And the guy starts, and there's like 20 people in this class, and he says, "Oh my God," he goes, "I've seen everyone in here, right? You have to have 12 hands-on hours, and this course is 3 hours." He goes, "How many have already taken this course and are taking it again because they're trying to get their 12 MAGD hands-on participation in removal pros?" All the hands went up. And then he
Oh,
said,
wow.
how many people have already taken this before twice? Hands still were all up. And me and Datola were there. I mean, I think we were taking the same course 4 years in a row,
Oh,
just
my
because
goodness.
we wanted to get our MA. So those hands-on participation classes are rare. But there's 2 other things I love about that meeting. Is it called Miracle Mile?
Yeah,
Uh,
the Michigan Avenue Miracle. Yeah, you go shopping down on
is
Michigan
it?
Avenue.
Do you call that Miracle Mile or Magnificent Mile? Or
Magnificent Mile. Yeah.
that is the Magnificent Mile, and you also have the best bar district in town. What is that bar district?
I don't
Um,
know what that one is.
it's just all bars and clubs. You go down there and
Oh, down like on Rush Street and
yeah, Rush
Division and
Street. Yeah,
around
Rush
there.
Street.
Yeah, there's
So
some
my
wonderful restaurants over there too.
Miracle Mile is just like shopping on what's that place in Beverly Hills? Magnificent Mile, Magnificent Mile, Redondo Beach. I mean, that is right there with Redondo Beach shopping
Oh, your Rodeo
and
Drive. There you go. That's
Rodeo
it.
Drive and
Yeah,
Rush Street. If you ever want to watch a football game and have the most fun in your life, do it on Rush Street. It is a killer deal.
exactly.
And then the
Yeah.
last thing I'll say about Chicago, which is so funny, is that town is like 1/8 Polish, isn't it? Isn't it like 1 out of every 8 people in Chicago is Polish?
I
Because
don't know that statistic.
yeah. And every time I've lectured in Warsaw, like every 5 years since, like, I don't know, when the Berlin Wall fell in '89, and every Polish dentist you meet will tell you about their cousin, uncle, aunt, whatever, and they always live in Chicago. And then every time you fly to Warsaw to lecture, you fly to Chicago, and then they have a nonstop flight on Lot Airline every 4 hours around the clock.
Wow.
And it's just this massive shuttle. And I don't think I've ever met a single Polish dentist who didn't have a cousin that lived in Chicago.
Well, Chicago is a fabulous place. So I want everybody to come to the Midwinter Meeting this February. And when you see me, make sure you stop me and tell me that you heard me on Howard's show.
All right, it's Dr. Cheryl Watson-Lowry. Thank you so much for coming on my show. It was an honor to podcast you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.